Hi everybody, I'm Lily, and if you are new here, welcome. This video is all about my reflections on 2020, what this year has changed for us, the impact it's had on me and my family, and just what I'm hoping for next year. But first, I think it's most appropriate to acknowledge my subscribers and the people who watch and support my channel, and give an enormous thank you to you for watching my videos and for supporting me the way you have been this year. And I just wanted to say thank you so much. Okay, so one of the things I have learned this year is to embrace vulnerability. For me, being on YouTube is like the pinnacle of of vulnerability. You're just so exposed, and you're exposed to ridicule, especially if it should come. And so it's a different mindset, a different suit of armor you have to put on and hope for the best. So one of the reasons why I wanted to do this is because during my pregnancy, there were a lot of difficulties. It was a good pregnancy physically, but we had a lot of trouble with each other and financially. And so it was a very lonely time for me. I did not have any close friends who were pregnant as well. I didn't really have a support group around pregnancy that I was a part of. So watching videos on YouTube, seeing other moms navigate through their pregnancy, looking at the products they recommend, how they organize their home, how they do things, was just a great resource for someone who had never been a mom before. So I was very happy to have that. And I thought about doing it after I gave birth, but that was a steep learning curve for me. I just thought, since I had spent so many years teaching and taking care of children, that I wouldn't have that much difficulty as a new mom. But boy, was I wrong. It was really tough. So I'm glad that I didn't start a channel then, because I want my channel to have some sort of encouragement. And I think it would have been pretty depressing if I had started it then, because I was depressed and it was hard. I had a lot of difficulties when I was during his infancy, basically. So, and if I had started it, I probably would have failed rather quickly, because I'm learning that it takes a consistency, and editing and filming is not easy work. It's very tedious. The editing process isn't hard, but it does take a while to get things the way you want it. And it just takes a lot of effort. And I think I would have been very overwhelmed had I done it back then. Embracing vulnerability has been, and I will say that if you are thinking about starting a YouTube channel, just do it. Go ahead and do it. I constantly have to suppress this voice that says, why are you doing this? Nobody really cares what you have to say. And that's not true. And that's not true for you either. Someone cares. Someone will watch. And that is reason enough to give it a try. Okay, so I have my notes here so I don't forget some of the stuff I wanted to mention. So, marriage. A very big thing that I learn every single year, and this year is no exception, is that God is absolutely amazing, and there is nothing that is impossible for him. And deep down I know that, like deep inside I know that, but I'm just astounded and reminded of his goodness and his grace every single year. And I have had situations of hopelessness and despair that I really even questioned how God can turn it around and get me out of it. And looking back on those things, I'm just amazed at how he got me through it. And one of those things that I have seen his grace abound in is our marriage. For most people who know us, it may come as a surprise that our marriage has been, I wouldn't use the word hell. I think that's a little strong, but I will say awful. I will use that word, awful. Our courtship and dating time was bliss. And for most people who knew us then, I'm sure we made them sick with our mush and affection. But from our first day of marriage onward, it was awful. Now, one day, maybe we will share that testimony of our marriage story. But it's not just my story, it's my husband's story too. So I would need his agreement on that and his cooperation if he wants to. So that would be a video for another time. But this is the first year in 10 years, in my opinion, and I think probably his opinion too, that we have had a good year of marriage. I would say this was our best year out of all 10 years. How? With 2020 being the way it has been, and being quarantined together, I don't know. But something has shifted this year. And I know that is nothing but God. There have been times where I really didn't think we would even make it this far. And for God to change our hearts and our minds has been a miracle, in my opinion. For a while, I used to blame my husband for most of our troubles, and it took me going through recovery and some other things to accept my part in all of it too, and to notice things within myself that needs to change. I think persistent prayer and support and counseling have all been a part of the reason why we are in the place that we are now, which is, I would say, a better place than we've ever been in. And even though we still have troubles and things that we're working through, it's nowhere near what it was. It's better to work through the things in an amicable way from a place of understanding, which is where we are now, than from a place of animosity and arrogance. So I'm very grateful for that. So another big thing, lesson, a big culmination of things with the horrendous and horrible murder of George Floyd. I know I'm not alone in this. I speak for a lot of people in the sense that the effect that his death had on me was profound. Deep, deep feelings of sadness and insecurity and just hurt feelings over the state of our country, who we are as citizens. There was just this profound disappointment and just despair over that. And I can't speak for all racial groups, but I think when you can relate to someone in that way, you sort of see yourself in that situation. Every painful, prejudiced experience that I've ever had kind of came up in that moment, just right before my eyes. And I've had, unfortunately, quite a few. Since my son was born, I think I deal with racism more, which is strange, more as far as the microaggressions and inappropriate comments, things like that. For example, when my son was born, he looked exactly like his father. He was the same complexion as his father. If you are new to this video, my husband is white, and my son looked exactly like him. I also started to take care of the child of one of my close friends. Her family is white, and she is an adorable little girl. She is white, blonde hair, blue eyes. My son is mixed. And I cannot tell you how many times I would get approached on the playground, at a park, at an event that's geared for babies, and asked if that is my son, whether I'm just with him or whether it was the three of us, me and the two children. I was asked often if I was their nanny. But even when I was alone with my son, to question the legitimacy of my motherhood was very hurtful. And just the audacity of that, it was infuriating. And not only that, how before the pandemic, I would take him to parks or whatever. And if there was only a few people there, just their standoffishness of wanting to interact with me or wanting my son to interact with their kids was very hurtful. And he's not at the age yet where he can pick up on it and question it. But I'm thinking about now how we would have that conversation. And I found myself just putting on this armor every time I went to toddler time at the library or some other event I found in a magazine or a new park, whatever, where there are other moms. There would not be a whole lot of minority women in these groups. There would be some, a little sprinkle. And I just had to put on this armor because I know there's a chance it might be uncomfortable. There's a chance people might stare at me, which happens often. It was just really challenging. One of the things I've learned is that my life matters. As a woman, as a Black woman, as a human being, my life matters. And it should matter to other human beings. But in those instances where it doesn't, at least I could think and draw hope from the fact that it matters to the one who created me. And I am created in his image. And I am unique and fully loved by my Creator. And because of that, I have every right to ask and demand equality, kindness, and respect as I give it to others. And I have more confidence in that now, because before, when I would have experiences that were very offensive to me, I would not say anything. I would just feel defeated. But now I have this confidence that, hey, that's not okay. And I think that is something that the events of this year has brought on. It's just brought on this shift of a certain amount of tolerance for certain things that I don't quite have anymore. And that's okay. And that's a very big lesson that I've learned this year. The summer of 2019, I shaved my head. I lost a lot of hair after my son was born. It just started falling out. And it was just badly damaged, and I was just hanging on to the hair I had, And so I was just like, let's just cut it off. It's very interesting, like the assumptions people have of you based on your hairstyle. Very, very interesting. Like the gender issues that they assign to hair. Like one of my family members said to me, when I told them I did it, why did you do that? Why would you do that? And I said, because I wanted to. I don't know what other reason there is except a medical reason, for me at least. I had one person say to me, well, from now on you need to make sure you wear earrings so that people know you're not a lesbian. I was very, very shocked by that statement. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, since when did your hairstyle determine your sexual identity, So I shaved it in 2019, and it just was just still short, but growing even throughout 2020. And I would say that was right around the time where the inappropriate questions on the park or playground about me and my child, that it heightened when I cut my hair off. So I just found that interesting. And lastly, I think a very important thing I learned this year is to have grace and compassion. I think this year, especially this year, politically has been crazy. Politics, the state of politics in our country, it is so polarized right now. And there is so much division and so much racial tension, and even so within the Christian community. I've had conversations, I know of friends who've had conversations. It has been very difficult. It's like there's kind of a reckoning now. You're either on a certain side or you're not. How do you put that into context of a community of believers who have supposed to have this commonality but are divided on these other things? It's been a very strange thing to navigate, and the events of this year had given me a lot of anger and bitterness, and has kind of made me feel intolerant in some ways to certain people's positions. And what I've learned is that you can love God and be a Republican. You can love God and be a Democrat. You can love God and be an independent. And even though that's like, yeah, duh, of course you can. I just needed to fully realize that and understand that and remove my judgment that I was feeling. You know, the Bible says to love one another. It even says to love those who are not easy to love, and to forgive each other for the wrongs that we've done to each other. And so that has been a big lesson for me. I don't know the hearts of people. Only God knows that. There are a couple of things that I still am having trouble reconciling with my faith, and I'm asking God for help with that. But I do believe that if we proclaim a love for Christ, then we should love His creation, no matter who they are. And that is not an easy thing, especially when, in my mind, when I think of people who don't believe that inequality and discrimination is a thing. It's very hard to love that type of person, in my opinion. But I also accept that there are going to be things that I won't understand, but God is still good and gracious. I would like to definitely continue my channel and expand the type of videos that I make. Another friend of mine had a few questions for me. She mentioned that, I would like to get to know you better on your channel. So I think probably filming more videos like this where people can get a better glimpse of who I am as a person, while still vlogging about my life, because that's really my theme of my channel. With anything, when you're filming yourself or your life or whatever, you still get to choose what you want people to see and what you don't. There are still certain areas, of course, that of my life that I am choosing not to share here, out of respect for other people in my life. And I just believe that there are certain areas of vulnerability that not everybody deserves entry into. And I've learned that the hard way throughout my life. And I'm not saying that it's like you guys or whatever. It's the internet in general, So I'll see how deep I want to go in certain areas, and definitely reflect on it, pray about it, talk to my husband about it, get opinions and stuff. And but I definitely hope that this next year, 2021, brings us some joys. There's going to be difficulties, because there's always difficulties, but that there is joy and health for you and your family, for all of us. thank you so much for watching. Happy New Year's. God bless. Please hit that like button, subscribe, hit the bell so you won't miss any videos, and I will see you again very soon. Thank you.